Hello, Croatian learners. Welcome back to our channel. My name is Ines, and today I would love to teach you the personal pronouns in Croatian. So, dear learners, stay tuned and let's learn together. Pronouns, as you know, are words that replace nouns in the sentence. So they can refer to a person or a group of people or even an object. What you need to know about the pronouns in Croatian is that they are a part of the group of words which are changeable. Now, when I say changeable, it means that the words change their form regarding on their function or their role in a sentence. I'll talk about that more later. But when I say a changeable word, so the pronoun changes regarding the case, regarding the gender, so it can be feminine, masculine, or neuter, and regarding the count, singular or plural. Now, because pronouns are changeable words, I will speak about the pronouns through 7 different cases. Now, if I would love your feedback on this, please share with me what is the best way for you to learn, and if this method would actually work best or some other would. I would really appreciate your feedback. Now, the reason why I want to go through the cases is because if you have been studying Croatian for a while, then you have absolutely had to come across different cases and when you need to use each case. I have several different videos on this, so please visit them if you want to know more. But I want to talk about the pronouns and their role through the 7 different cases. Now, I will talk about the first 2 pronouns, I and you, ja and ti. The reason why I want to do this is to not overwhelm you, okay? So there are almost just as many pronouns in Croatian as there are in English. So I want to cover the first 2 through 7 different cases so you can learn when to use which. And then at the end of the video, you can see all the other different forms of the pronouns, and then we'll have a practice session or a practice part of the video where you can practice all these things that you have learned. Okay, I hope this is not too much information. You can always check down below. I have timestamps for this entire video. So I want you to learn to really be able to use what you learned today. Okay, so let's focus on the first 2 persons, I and you, or ja and ti, with these personal pronouns. Let's quickly look at the form of the pronouns ja and ti through different cases. The pronouns in Croatian are obviously not regular. That's why they have to be memorized or learned by heart. There's no way around it. For this reason, I want to go through cases because I want you to hear when each form is used, okay? And this is probably the easiest way for you to learn grammar anyway, to just listen to a lot of examples where these different pronouns and their forms are used, so you will get the idea quicker. But before we go further, I would like for you to look at the form of each personal pronoun, ja and ti, through all the 7 cases. So let's look at the screen here. So you can already notice 2 things. You can notice that some pronouns have the same form for different cases. So if you look at the genitive and accusative, the form is the same, correct? Also, you may notice that the genitive, dative, and accusative have 2 pronouns written. So they are the same pronoun, only one is longer and one is shorter. And I will explain when to use each one. And yes, you have to know both. So let's start from the beginning, shall we? Let's talk about the nominative case. The nominative case is the basic case. When you learn a word, a noun, you learn it in its nominative case. The nominative case is the case of a subject. The reason why I bring this up is because if you want to use the personal pronoun as a subject in the sentence, then it's going to be in its basic form, in its nominative case. Let's look at some examples. I want to say, I am a teacher. I am a teacher feminine. Okay, so I would say ja sam učiteljica. Now, ja, I, is the nominative case because it's the subject of the sentence. And the word učiteljica, the feminine word for teacher, is in also a nominative case because it's a part of the subject, right? I am a teacher. Ja sam učiteljica. I want to say you are a student. Masculine, for example. Ti si učenik. Again, ti is in a nominative case because it's the subject. Učenik is also nominative because it's a part of the subject, right? So how would you say I am a student? Ja sam učenik or učenica. It's as simple as that. Or I want to say you are a good friend. How would you say you are? Ti si. Excellent. Ti si dobar prijatelj. Ti si dobar prijatelj. And how would you say you are eating lunch? Ti jedeš ručak. Okay, so I think it's very clear that when to use the nominative case in the personal pronouns, right? There is something that you need to be aware of. Now, I don't know if you have already studied Croatian verbs, but Croatian verbs have a very important grammatical feature in which they already express the person, okay? So when I say ja sam učiteljica, this auxiliary verb to be, sam, already says that a first person is talking, or I. It's the same in English, right? As soon as you see am, you know that the I is performing the action. The I is the subject. You can't say you am a teacher, right? It doesn't make any sense. Now, even though in English you cannot leave out the pronoun, in Croatian you can. So, actually, you almost always do in everyday speech, unless you actually want to emphasize, I am the teacher, right? Then you would use the pronoun, ja sam učiteljica. But if you just want to answer the question like, oh, what do you do for a living? And you just want to say, oh, I'm a teacher. Then you would leave the pronoun out because it's redundant. It's not necessary. And you would actually say, učiteljica sam. Oh no. Yes. We have to change the word order. Now, if you have watched any of my videos on the verbs, about the verbs, you learned that auxiliary verb has to come second in the sentence. So even though in the longer sentence, when you do use the subject, you say, I am a teacher, ja sam učiteljica. If you take out the subject, because the subject is sort of contained in the verb, then the verb has to come second. So instead of saying sam učiteljica, which you can't do, you have to say učiteljica sam. You switch these two words. Učitelj sam. Učenik sam. The same happens for the second person. Učenik si. Učitelj si. For the third person, učitelj je. And so on and so forth. Now, please check out the other videos about the verbs because there are some rules to follow. So if you want to negate, then you have to put the verb in the beginning again. Nisam učiteljica, nisam učenik, and so on and so forth. But that's a subject for a different video. Now let's focus on the pronouns. Ja sam učitelj, ti si učenik, and so on. You use the nominative case. Okay? So let's move on to the next case, which is probably the next most used. And this is the accusative case. Now, I want to talk about both accusative and genitive together because they have exactly the same form. And as a foreign speaker, you might not be able to tell apart which case a certain pronoun is. Is it accusative or is it genitive? That's not even important. What's important is for you to learn when to use which, okay? So the form for the accusative or genitive case for ja and ti is mene for longer or me, shorter. And for ti is tebe or te. Okay, so what you need to know about the accusative case is that it's probably the most used case because it's the case that you have to use for direct objects in the sentence, okay? So yeah, let's use a very pleasant and very common example. I love you. Okay, now this is a perfect example because you still have the nominative subject, right? Ja, and I love you. You have you, which is a direct object, and then you have the verb. So as you can see, Croatian does follow the subject-verb-object pattern most of the time. So, I love you. You would say this, ja volim tebe. Okay, notice I used a longer form, tebe, and I placed tebe at the end of the sentence because it is an object. Or ti voliš mene. You love me. Ti voliš mene. Now ti is the subject and it is nominative. Voliš is the second person of the verb voljeti, and I am the object, or mene. Okay? Ti voliš mene. So the pronoun changed its function, its role in the sentence. In the sentence, ja sam učitelj or učiteljica, ja is the subject and the nominative. But now ja becomes an object in the sentence, you love me, right? Even in English, it changes its form. So ti voliš mene, mene became an object. And so it had to change the case, accusative case. Now this is where I want to explain when you need to use the longer form and when you need to use the shorter form. In this example, ja volim tebe, it's actually a very clumsy sentence. The reason is because you wouldn't really, if you were talking to a loved one, you wouldn't use that type of sentence. Or no, you wouldn't use the longer form of the accusative, tebe. General rule of thumb is if you want to emphasize the pronoun, then use the longer form. So if you want to say, I love you, out of all the other people, then you can say, ja volim tebe, out of all the other people. But if you want to just say, I love you, as an expression, then you use the shorter form, te. But, I'm sorry, there's always a but in Croatian, but you wouldn't leave it in the place where the object usually sits, right? The object usually sits at the end of the sentence or after the verb. No, the shorter forms of all personal pronouns or all pronouns have to actually come second, okay? So this in the second place in the sentence. Okay, so especially in this sentence, ja volim tebe, I love you. You want to use the shorter form, so you will say ja te volim. Ja te volim. Literal translation, I, you accusative, I love. Ja te volim. So notice, ja volim tebe is a correct sentence, but tebe is sort of emphasized. You might not want to do that. So if you want to use the shorter form, which is more common, then you would switch around these words, and you would put the shorter form of the pronoun in the second place. Ja te volim. Remember the rule that it has to be, the shorter pronoun has to be in the second place. So again, remembering the rule from the nominative that you can ditch the subject, right? Because volim already says that it's talking about the first person. I am performing the action. I am the one who loves. So you can leave the subject out. But you can't say te volim because the pronoun has to come second, right? So you would say volim te. And this is how you get that most famous phrase in the world, volim te. How would you say you love me? Voliš me. Okay, I'm using the shorter form, voliš me. Let's look at these two sentences. I am looking for you all day. I'll use the longer forms and a subject, okay? Ja tražim tebe cijeli dan. I'm looking for you all day. Okay? Now, I wouldn't really want to use the longer form. I want to shorten it and use the te form, okay? So I would say ja te, second place, tražim cijeli dan. Ja te tražim cijeli dan. I'm looking for you all day. Now, I want to leave the subject out completely because the verb already expresses the first person. What would I say? You put the verb first, the pronoun second, and then the rest of the sentence. Tražim te cijeli dan. Tražim te cijeli dan. So this is the accusative case, and like I said, the accusative case is the direct object in the sentence. Now the genitive case in majority is used to express a partiality of something, something being a part of something, like a glass of water or a piece of bread. So these sentences would be in genitive. Please check out our video on genitive to learn more. But also another very interesting feature of the genitive case is that it's the case which uses or requires most of the prepositions. Okay, so this is what I want to talk about. Actually, I want to give you a few examples when to use the genitive case in the sentence. The gift is from me. Okay? Poklon je od mene. Poklon je od mene. An example, I want to sit by you, or I want to sit next to you. Or I will sit next to you, it's easier. Sjest ću do tebe. Okay? Or I will leave after you. Krenut ću poslije tebe. Now there is a whole variety of prepositions that you have to use the genitive for, and please refer to our genitive case video to learn more about this. So this was the nominative, accusative, and genitive case. Let's move on to dative and locative. So dative and locative, we are doing them together because they have the same form. Actually, dative and locative have the same form almost always in nouns and pronouns and adjectives. And really, as a foreign learner, you really can't tell the difference. Not even some locals can tell the difference between the locative and the dative. So let's learn when you need to use the pronouns in the dative and the locative. The general rule of thumb is that the dative is the case for indirect objects. So think of if you're transferring something, someone giving something to someone, you're using the dative case. Now, that's what the indirect object is. For example, send me a message. So you are going to send me a message. You're going to give me something. I am the indirect object, right? The message is the direct object, but I am the indirect object. Okay, so I hope we're clear on what the indirect object is. So just think of transferring, giving, selling, or something like that. You're giving something to someone. So as soon as you have that to, you need to use the dative. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Let's look at the form for the dative and locative. So, dative and locative for ja is meni or mi, and for ti is tebi or ti. I'm sorry. Yes, it is the same form. The short form for the nominative ti is the same as the short form in the dative ti. It's actually written the same, but it's not the same. Listen. The nominative for you is ti. It's a little long, like the syllable is longer. But the dative is ti. It's shorter, okay? And you will be able to hear it in our example sentences. Let's go back to that example. Send me a message. Pošalji, an imperative verb, right? Pošalji mi poruku. Notice, again, the second place. The shorter form of the pronoun stands in the second place. Pošalji mi poruku. Or, I will send you a message. Poslat ću ti poruku. Poslat ću ti poruku. Or, I'm sending you a message. Šaljem ti poruku. Šaljem ti poruku. Okay? I didn't say šaljem ti poruku. I said šaljem ti poruku. Short. Šaljem ti poruku. An expression which you can use the dative for. One for me and one for you. Jedan meni, jedan tebi. Again, giving something. Think of giving something to someone. Very needed, very helpful expression is help me. When I'm learning Croatian, help me. How would you say help me? Pomozi mi. Again, you are desiring something, you're asking to get something, right? You want help. Help me. Pomozi mi. Or, I trust you. Vjerujem ti. Now, you might want to say, wow, that's actually a direct object. In Croatian, it's indirect. Think of you are giving your faith, your trust to someone. Vjerujem ti. I'm believing you, right? Vjerujem ti. Or come to me. Dođi mi. Come to me. Dođi mi. Or I want to show you a painting. Želim ti pokazati sliku. Okay? I hope you get the gist, the idea of when to use the dative and the locative case. And the final case, which we haven't covered yet, is the instrumental case. Now, the instrumental case expresses the means of doing something, like the tools or the means of doing something, or companionship, which is most common for people, right? So whenever you have go with someone, this is when you use the instrumental case. So let's look at some examples. First, let's look at the form of the instrumental ja and ti. So ja in instrumental is mnom, sa mnom, with me, sa mnom. And for ti is tobom or s tobom, s tobom. It's pronounced as one word, s tobom, with you. The reason why you have sa mnom is because of this of these two letters mn at the beginning, so you can't really say smnom. You need to break your tongue. This is why the a is kind of inserted. Sa mnom, s tobom. It's pronounced like one word, but it's actually two. So, like I said, the instrumental is the case for companionship or tools or means. So let's look at some examples when you could use the instrumental case or when you can use the pronouns in the instrumental case. Come with me. Okay? Come with me. Pođi sa mnom. Pođi sa mnom. Come with me. Pođi sa mnom. I will go with you. Ja ću ići s tobom. Okay? Or ići ću s tobom if I want to leave out the nominative, the subject, right? Or dance with me. Pleši sa mnom. Pleši sa mnom. I want to talk with you or I want to talk to you. Želim razgovarati s tobom. Okay, instrumental does not have the shorter form. You always only use the longer form. Whenever you want to express companionship, use the instrumental form of the pronoun. Now, these were a couple of rules when to use each case in the sentence. Now, if you want to learn more about the cases themselves and the different prepositions which are used with each case, please check out the other videos and the other videos about the cases that I've made a while ago. But for now I have talked about ja and ti. All of these rules apply to every other person in the personal pronouns, okay? So I, you, he, she, it, we, you, they. They're all used in the same way. But let's look at their forms, shall we? I'll put them up here on the screen and I will read each one to you so that you can learn to pronounce them and learn to listen to them carefully. So let's look at all these other forms. I have already talked about ja and ti, so let's skip that for now. Let's look at the third person singular, he, she, it. Okay, so these are the three genders, on, ona, and ono. And you can already notice that ono and on, the neuter and masculine, have the same form in all the cases except for the nominative. And this is what they sound like. On is he, ono is it. So the genitive and accusative is njega, ga, or you see this nj. I will explain that a little later. The dative locative is njemu or mu, and the instrumental is njim or njime, if you want to emphasize it. Now, she is ona in the nominative. The genitive and accusative is nje or je. Accusative can also be you, and I'll explain this a little later. And the dative locative is njoj or joj, and the instrumental is njom or njome. Now, let me quickly explain a little bit about this nj and joj in the accusative in the masculine and feminine form. So nj is always used with a preposition. It's not very commonly used in everyday speech. You would more than likely find it in literature, but if you do encounter it, know that it is talking about the accusative of the masculine or the neuter personal pronoun. For example, I think about him all day long. Mislim na nj cijeli dan. Okay, I would say mislim na njega cijeli dan, but you can sort of say mislim na nj cijeli dan, and it has to be used with the preposition, together with the preposition, and pronounced together with the preposition na nj. Okay. You are okay if you use just a shorter or longer form, but just so you are aware that this exists out there as well. Now, a more common situation where you would use the accusative feminine for you, so the accusative is nju, you, or je. you can get a little bit confused because je is also an auxiliary verb biti, or to be. On je učenik, he is a student. Now, because of this, you will use, instead of using je, you will use you for the accusative feminine personal pronoun. So if you want to use an example, he saw her yesterday, you would say he saw her, vidio ju je jučer. Okay? So the person, you would put the pronoun in the second place, and instead of saying vidio je jučer, which would be confusing, you would say vidio ju je jučer. Or if you want to emphasize the pronoun, you use the longer form, vidio je nju jučer. Okay, he saw her yesterday, vidio je nju jučer, or shorter form, vidio ju je jučer. Okay. An example where you would use the form je for the accusative. I see her. Vidim je. Okay, you wouldn't say vidim ju. You could, but you can use it's actually correct to use the form je. Vidim je, because you don't have the auxiliary verb to be, and there's no confusion. You know exactly what who you're talking about. The form for the plural is as follows, as you can see here on the screen. So the nominative for we is me. The genitive and accusative is nas. The dative locative is nama or nam. And the instrumental is, again, nama or snama, snama. The plural second person, you, is vi. The genitive accusative is vas. The dative locative is vama or vam. And the instrumental is also vama, svama. I want to say that in Croatian, if you see the vas, vi, etc. capitalized, then it means that you are referring to a second person singular, but you are showing respect. So if you're talking to somebody elderly, or your employer, or you just want to express respect, then this you is actually, even though it's referring to a single person, one person, and you're referring to someone as a second person singular, you have to use the second person plural to show respect, and then you capitalize this pronoun, okay? So in speech, just make sure that you don't go to somebody older and say ti. You need to say the. So just think of the second person plural. Now the third person, they, in Croatian, even though the nominative has three forms, masculine, feminine, and neuter, masculine is oni, feminine is one, and neuter is ona. All the other cases are actually the same for all three genders. So the genitive accusative would be njih or ih. The accusative locative would be njima, sometimes even im. And the shorter form, and the instrumental is also njima, njima, with them. So please remember, all the rules that you have learned for ja and ti are applied absolutely to every other personal pronoun. So let's practice a little bit, shall we? Okay, I will use a couple of examples that are familiar to you. So how would you say he is a teacher? The nominative form for he is on. On je učitelj. And how would you say, or which form would you use when you say, I see him? You would use the accusative because him is the direct object. And you can use the longer form or the shorter form. Vidim njega or vidim ga. If you want to use the subject, ja vidim njega or ja ga vidim. So how would you say, I see her? Vidim je. Right, vidim je. How would you say, we are teachers? Our teachers is smo učitelji. Which pronoun would you use? Mi smo učitelji. Exactly. Okay, how would you say, they are good friends? They are my good friends. So, are my good friends would be su moji dobri prijatelji. What would be the pronoun? Oni su moji dobri prijatelji if you're talking about a group of guys. If you're talking about a group of women, how would you say that? One su moji dobri prijatelji. Or you would say, one su moje dobre prijateljice. How would you say, I'm looking for you, plural, all day? Now I'll help you with the rest of the sentence. I'm looking, tražim. The second place needs to be the pronoun you're looking for, and then all day. Tražim, fill in the blank, all day. I'm looking for you, plural. Tražim vas cijeli dan. Again, the accusative because this is the direct object, right? Okay, so let's see. Which case would you use in the sentence, give us the money? Let's say you're robbing a bank. Give us the money. How would you say that? I will help you with the rest of the sentence. Give us is daj, fill in the blank, money, novac. Which case would you use? This is an indirect object, so you would use the dative locative case. And the dative locative form for the first person plural is nama or nam. Daj nam novac, right? How would you say, I want to dance with her? I want to dance with her. Which case would you use? This is companionship, so you want to use the instrumental case. I want to dance is želim plesati. How would you say with her? S njom. I want to dance with her. Želim plesati s njom. Remember to pronounce the preposition together with the pronoun s njom. Okay? Or, I don't understand him. I don't understand him. Which case is this? It's the direct object. It's the accusative case. I don't understand him. Ne razumiem ga. Or ne razumiem njega. Ne razumiem ga. I don't understand her. Ne razumiem je. I don't understand them. Ne razumiem ih. Ne razumiem ih. And so on. This was just a short practice for the personal pronouns. I know this has been a lot, and pronouns are a little complex. You have to learn them by heart, and you have to learn the cases, when and which form to use. But please, if you have any questions, as always, please ask me in the comments down below, and I will try to get to you as soon as possible and help you to the best of my ability. Everybody, thank you so much for joining me today. I hope that this video has been helpful to you to learn the pronouns. Again, if you like this method of actually focusing on 2 pronouns at the beginning, let me know, or let me know if there's another method which is easier for you to learn and pick up things. As always, I'm here for you. Please let me know if you need any help. And as always, keep at it. You can do it. Just learn, study, listen, use the language. Don't be afraid to speak. Locals love it when you speak to them. And just practice, 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 and you got this. I will cover all the other pronouns in our other videos, but until then, practice these, and if you have questions, let me know. Have a great day, everybody, and good luck with learning Croatian. Do widzenia!